Welcome to the Everyday Hotel. You'll be on the second floor and your other room will be on the 14th.
Wait, we asked for connecting rooms? These are 12 floors apart.
We tried, ma'am, but technically they're only 11 floors apart. We don't have a 13th floor.
We can't be 11 floors away from our kids.
I don't see a problem.
Stuart!
When you want separate rooms, but not that separate, it matters where you stay. Only Hilton offers confirmed connecting rooms at the time of booking. Hilton, for the stay.
Empire. The collectible has officially hit its 2.0.
Obviously, I'm a very tech-forward person and always on the bleeding edge of that stuff. But we think that these AR cards are also a great way to introduce NFTs to people who don't necessarily get it immediately.
That's Nate Slutzky. He and co-founder Aron Linsky of VerifiedInk will join us to discuss how NIL opened a marketplace and modern collectibles are the outcome. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein. There is a have to see it to believe it aspect of this podcast, as there is a part where you're going to hear the guys describe their new cards. You're going to hear me call them cool over and over, and obviously you can't see them. So we will be sure to post the video so that you can see what we're talking about on our LinkedIn profile at FutureSport, FUTRSPRT. Our guests this week are Aron Linsky and Nate Slutzky, who are the co-founders, co-CEOs of VerifiedInk, which is a first ever NIL platform empowering high school and college student athletes to design, mint, and sell their own trading cards. Hi to both of you. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, nice to meet you here over the Zoom call.
Whichever one of you wants to start, let me know, what was the background of this? Why did you get into this?
Sure, I can lead off there. My background is, for 10 years, I was a college football coach. I was student assistant at University of Colorado. I coached at a small D3 school, but I also was a GA at Rutgers University, and I was the special teams coordinator at Fordham University in New York City for a number of years. And after I left coaching, I went on a mission to really start to help athletes. And it started first in the recruiting space, where I worked at, or I started a company called Verified Athletics, and I helped college coaches to find athletes to recruit. Because I found that a lot of recruiting services that were out there basically just charge kids a bunch of money, didn't really help them a whole lot. And I wanted to kind of flip that on its head and collect money from the college teams that really do want help to recruit the athletes and do everything for free for the athletes and empower them a little bit more. That's, been really great, been really exciting. We've grown that to represent about 400 college teams across a multitude of sports. And in that time, we wanted to take it to the next level. And to me, the next level is, instead of finding ways to give free things to athletes, why don't we find a way to help them to get paid? And the recent legislation changes in the NCAA and on down to high school that allow athletes to profit off their name, image, and likeness got me thinking. And that's when I connected with Aron, who I've known since we were probably in kindergarten or first grade. And we were talking, and Aron had a real fascination with the crypto world, NFTs, things like that. And that's when we realized that there was a huge opportunity here to build something that would allow athletes to profit, both the highest of the high, Division I athletes in men's basketball and football, all the way on down to, lots of athletes in high school and college that have some value to their name, image, and likeness. We can help them to profit while also giving fans an opportunity to truly get in the game and to allow them to invest in these athletes' careers and, kind of start what we call the future of fandom around here.
Okay, Aron, what's your backstory? How did you end up in this?
Yeah, so as Nate said, we've been friends since we were very young. So I played college sports. I played volleyball at Princeton. And then after that, took a job at a hedge fund, Bridgewater Associates, where I've been working for the past 14 years in technology most of the time. So I've always been very interested in tech, any new technology, any new applications, and what problems can it solve. And so I had actually convinced Nate to come in between his coaching stint and Verified Athletics. I convinced him to come work with me at at Bridgewater, and so we remained close there, and we were just kind of, in 2017 and 2018, I had gotten into crypto because that was the thing. Made money, lost all that money, and then kind of lost interest. And in 2020, took another peek at it. And by that time, you could actually do something with the crypto. It wasn't just a casino. You can make new things. And one of the most interesting and practical things that I saw that you can make with this blockchain technology were collectibles. And so at that point, I was just hanging out at Nate's house and said, why don't we make the ultimate rookie card? And as Nate talked about a few minutes ago, that's what we did. So I'd say that's probably the genesis of this.
Okay, so who is making the ultimate rookie card? Is it the player? Is it a designer? Who's doing that?
That's I think the great thing about the platform, and as Nate alluded to, the connection, the athletes themselves are creating it. It was probably started around 2011 with Instagram, but technology today, you can make some pretty cool and good looking things without necessarily needing to be an artist yourself. And so what we've done is we've created a very simple interface for these athletes to, within probably 3 minutes, create a card that is unique, that represents their style and personality, but then also looks good. Or to look on our website in our marketplace, you can see we have hundreds of these cards, all designed by the athletes themselves, not by us or a designer, which is very unique in the collectible world, where mostly it's the athlete will pose for a picture, but other than that, they don't really have much to do with it. They might sign it as well.
Then to add, from a fan perspective, all collectibles are more valuable the more there's a stronger connection to the athlete themselves. So, I think the perfect example is Tiger Woods golf clubs. You'd way rather own a pair of golf or a set of golf clubs that Tiger Woods played with than one that just have his name on it, right? And it's the same thing here with these collectibles. These are collectibles that don't just have the athlete's name on them, but the athlete literally created them. And in many cases, if you're the primary buyer, you bought it directly from that athlete themselves.
There also is a finite number of clubs that he uses. How are you looking at scarcity with these types of items?
That is so important. So in addition to playing sports, I've also been a lifelong collector growing up, collecting baseball cards and basketball cards. And then watching that collectible market blow up, also then the digital collectible market blow up. And what we've done is we've seen what works and what doesn't work. And one thing that and Nate will probably test this, that I'm very concerned about always is supply. And that's what makes VerifiedInk very different from a lot of the other one-off NFT drops by athletes. So what we're doing is we're guaranteeing that there is a managed supply for every athlete, and an athlete can't just go ahead and release a limited edition of 10, and then the next week release another limited edition of 10, and then do that in perpetuity. Because what that ends up doing is it makes those limited editions not so limited. And so the way that it's working right now is to start, every athlete can make a launch edition, which has 10. And if there is enough demand for that athlete, we're enabling an extended edition, and that will vary by the athlete, of something like 50 to 1,000 at most. And that's what we're starting with for the first year. And we do plan on enabling additional editions going forward, but always maintaining the scarcity that is important to collectors.
So, obviously this is unique, and obviously if you do control the scarcity aspect of it, you have something that's probably going to be valuable. But I'm curious at what level and what the demand is for these things, because as you both know, this market space has been flooded with all sorts of collectibles and artwork, whether it's teams, leagues, general artwork in general. You've seen prices drop on that in recent weeks. How do you guys kind of think through a very crowded market space and what the value of these items may be?
I think at the end of the day, it's really all about helping fans and collectors to feel a connection to the athlete. And so there's lots of ways that can happen. And we try to structure the mechanics of the market itself, but also things that you can get out of it by buying a card of an athlete. Athletes can create cards that also, when you buy the card, they'll follow you on Twitter or Instagram, right? You can create cards that would allow you as a fan to get a 10-minute Zoom with them, right? To help you to form and build that connection. There's other versions where when athletes list their top 5 schools, if you want to make a bid and try to purchase one of those cards, you can do so in a way where you also can list the school that you're supporting, right, of the top 5. In which case, if the athlete does ultimately choose your school, maybe you did, maybe you didn't have a huge impact on the athlete's final decision. But if they do choose your school, you certainly feel like that you were a part of that recruiting process. And when that athlete becomes a Heisman winner, All-American, you feel like you were a part of that. And so to me, that's the key, is to help the athletes or the fans to feel like that they can be connected to the athletes in that way.
How would you like to be able to remember names after you hear them once, or focus on a task without looking up until it's done? Whenever you want support for memory and mental sharpness, Alpha Brain can help. With more than 1 million bottles sold to date, Onnit's nootropic supplement is the leader in its category. Alpha Brain's blend of amino acids and plant compounds promotes cognitive functions, including memory, mental speed, and focus, and supports flow state, that feeling of being in the zone. Buy yours at Walmart today.
We've talked to a lot of people that are in this type of space in many different ways, and all of them have discussed utility, that it's not just a transactional trade for a collectible anymore. Do you guys kind of agree with that? It sounds like you do agree that there must be something attached to it to keep the value.
Yeah, it's the baseline is that they've created it, which is definitely unique utility, and that the athlete receives 94% of the cash flow. That is also very unique in the industry. The best that we've seen of any other competitor is at 50%, and then the top collectibles are more, that's mostly for professional athletes, are more in the 2 to 20% range. So those two utilities are the baseline. But yes, we absolutely believe that, and we want to continue to innovate on bringing that connection closer. And so there's one other utility that we haven't mentioned that doesn't necessarily translate to a podcast, an audio podcast but we're also introducing augmented reality cards. Huh. So you can hold, so this is what it looks like. You can literally hold the card in your hand. When you look at it through, you just scan the QR code, so you look at it through your phone camera, and you see the card on one side, you flip it over, and the video is playing on the other.
Huh.
That's I could show you that if you'd like to see. I just know it won't translate.
No, that's really cool, because like a lot of what is happening in this space too. We've done a lot of work with literal traditional collector groups, and their pushback consistently about NFTs and all these types of collectibles is, but I want to display it on my wall, but I want to put it on, but I want to hold it in my hand. And at some point, their belief, not entirely, but their belief is, without this tangible, literal asset that I can look, hold, show to people, display, what is it going to be worth in the future? And it seems like you guys have thought that through too.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And again, we're coming at it as collectors as well. And so we do share that. And obviously, I'm a very tech forward person and always on the bleeding edge of that stuff. But we think that these AR cards are also a great way to introduce NFTs to people who don't necessarily get it immediately. So there's Nas. And
that's really cool.
And then on the back is what I'm most excited about, which is the videos playing. You can't do this with a physical card.
That's really cool.
And then thank you. And then all you have to do is just scan that. Well, you can't really see it, but you just scan the QR code, and it opens up it brings you to our website.
That's very cool. All right, let me ask you about a couple big topics, and kind of lean in on your expertise. Nate, let me start with you as having someone who worked in college athletics for a long time. As you see what's happening, I don't need you to get into all the broad stuff about the mega conferences and all this other stuff, but NIL has changed a lot here. What is just your general takeaway of the state of college athletics in this new landscape?
Well, I think there's a lot of things going on all at once, but they do, I think, circle around a theme. And I think that theme is athlete empowerment. for a really long time, athletes have kind of not gotten their fair share, especially at the college level, of, the revenue that's being generated. And people are realizing that more and more. I mean, honestly, the Supreme Court is recognizing that as well. And they're forcing the change that probably has been long overdue, at least in my opinion, long overdue. And, some examples of that are, not just NIL, but the transfer portal, more rights basically given to athletes. And so what I think we're seeing now is athletes can find ways to go to, quote unquote, the highest bidder, right? And I don't think that in itself has a dramatic shift on the landscape, because at the end of the day, athletes were going to the best schools, the Texases and the Alabamas of the world, they were going to get the best athletes regardless. And now they will just do so in ways that the athletes will benefit from more. But I think the other thing that adding to that is you add to it the transfer portal. And now you have a piece where even the schools that can identify good talent early on, they're going to have a hard time hanging on to them, because there's always the lure of the Alabamas and the Texases of the world. Right? But at the same time, now the finances make it so truly like it would be unwise for athletes to stay at the schools that originally recruited them. And so I think that more than anything is going to cause the biggest gap between the haves and the have-nots. And so that's going to put every team in a position to either be part of the haves or, maybe want to join in with conferences that are going to put in, I think, larger restrictions around who like what you can and can't offer the athlete. And I think that stuff is where it's going. And I think that is why you're seeing all of the conference realignment stuff, because people are preparing themselves for that world where they either want to be a part of the no holds barred, like we're going all the way to the top, making our teams as best as we can, right? You're seeing the Big Ten, the SEC make moves in that direction. And you're seeing other conferences, maybe making it less clear whether or not they're going to go in that direction.
Okay. One other athlete question for you, and that is expectations in this landscape. Now that things are opened up, there might be some unrealistic expectations that athletes have. When you talk to them, what are you talking about as you try to explain what's happening, what the opportunity is, and what's realistic about it?
The biggest problem right now is there's no real transparency into what anyone's deals are like. Really, it's all hearsay in news articles where everyone being quoted has, really like incentive the deal sound much, much bigger than it is, right? The athletes want to make it sound bigger. The schools want to make it sound bigger. The agents want to make it sound bigger. And there's no way to it's not like an NFL salary where it's like, public record of, what the contracts look like. And so I think that people are seeing numbers that are probably not reality. And then other people are building their expectations around that. And I think that is causing some disappointment. I think that disappointment is probably not quite here yet, but is probably coming. And I think that's really where our product comes in and really offers a really great solution is that, these transactions for our NFTs are recorded on a blockchain in a very public way. And so athletes can really start to see what the value is for different athletes in this space, right? And they can see what schools and their fans are supporting which athletes the most, right? And so I think that, it's certainly not the end all be all of all NIL is going to exist within our platform, but I think it will give you signals as to what athletes are more or less valued, where people are in the pecking order, and also, which fan bases, which communities are doing more to support their athletes and their teams.
Okay. Aron, before I let you go, 2 technical questions for you. It's an interesting time to talk about cryptocurrency. You kind of laughed off some of the money that you lost during the casino era, and now we're in what they're calling crypto winter. How do you kind of look at cryptocurrency and its future now and into the future?
Yeah, I mean, it's the technology is great, and I think there's obviously been a whole bunch of hype. There's hype back in 2017, 2018. There's hype now. There was hype last year, and with that, you're going to have disappointment. And so this crash has basically washed out a lot of what I think is unhealthy grift and greed and fraud. And so you're seeing a lot of these companies that were taking irresponsible risks blow up. You're seeing a lot of the platforms or a lot of the releases that really weren't adding value and were just quick money grabs. Those are all gone. And so that's great for us because we're now able to clearly express what our value add is, what VerifiedInk's trying to deliver here. And it's actually not as crowded of a area anymore. So for builders, I think this is a great time to focus on what problems are you solving and make it very clear to the market why you're adding value. And it's not just who can yell the loudest or who can, raise the most and market the most. So for us, it's a great time. And the other thing with VerifiedInk specifically is that most of our users, both our athletes and our fans, are not crypto native. They're not. They weren't buying NFTs. They weren't making NFTs before. And we're bringing a lot of people into this world, and we're able to do that in a very familiar way. And so the crypto backdrop, that implosion, that's not great. Like I'm not happy about that necessarily, but it does provide an opportunity for great young companies like VerifiedInk to make an impact.
Okay, and last one in that realm, we've discussed a lot the education, the understanding of everything that's happening here. Where are you on the amount of people that understand how to interact in this if they want to?
We've tried to simplify it, basically to make it as familiar as, so creating the NFT is just as easy as creating an Instagram post. You choose a photo, you choose a video, you choose some colors, and you literally sign with your finger. That's it. And so we found that athletes all pick it up very quickly. They're all on their phones anyways, and these are young athletes from high school to college. That hasn't been a problem. And then on the buyer side, what we're attempting to do there is also make it just as familiar as any other online purchase. So it should be as easy as buying something from Amazon, and it is for us with the credit card. So we can process in credit cards or using crypto. And again, 98% of our sales so far have been with credit cards.
Oh.
Over time, we're hoping to kind of educate these users that are on our platform and help them move into Web3 and into the crypto world in a safe way. But we know that they're not there today, and that's fine.
Aron Linsky and Nate Slutzky are the co-founders and the co-CEOs of VerifiedInk. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
On the next Future Sport podcast, air quality has become a priority for sports teams.
The awareness to look for solutions to see if there is any active purification, disinfection, monitoring is something that we see people much more aware and requiring. We'll give you one anecdote. Harvard Business School done a study a couple of 2 years ago. 3 years ago, actually, before the pandemic, asking employees what's the most important thing for them when they're choosing a workplace. And I was surprised and would tell you that first from line was indoor air quality.
Yeah.
Even before salary, gym, and that's before COVID.
That's Roey Friedberg, CEO of Aura Air, who recently cut a deal with the Detroit Pistons to make their arena a safer environment. That will do it for this episode. As always, the future is now. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein.